Hey guys, as always, I am the Gentleman Snark here, and we're here to bring you a review of One Piece Chapter 985. There is a lot of stuff we need to talk about and unpack in this chapter right now. But before we get into that, I just want you guys to know that if you like what you see here, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We'd greatly appreciate it. Now, without further ado, let's get right into this chapter. So, this chapter starts off with Law and the Red Scabbards confronting Kanjuro and his army. Alright, so it's really clear that the Red Scabbards are still very, very salty about Kanjuro's sudden betrayal. And honestly, who could blame them? Who could honestly blame them? They went through hell and back with this man, and he literally stabbed them in the back, took Momonosuke, and just ran off with them. So definitely there is some bitterness there. The Red Scabbards are gearing up for a fight, but not until Kanjuro pretty much makes fun of Momonosuke, because we do see that Momonosuke did in fact try to escape. He grabbed a knife, he cut his ties, he tried to run away, he even stabbed Kanjuro, but unfortunately that still just was not good enough, getting consistently beaten down by Kanjuro, which is why we see him so wounded at the time of his execution. So Okiku being very sad about this, it brought to tears, but it really leads to a very serious moment where she's just, no more words, we're just gonna fight now. And I really did appreciate that, because let's be real, there's no words that could be exchanged between Kanjuro and the Red Scabbards to even make this even a little bit okay. They want their pound of flesh. It's clear that in this little clash, someone's gonna end up dying or severely wounded of sorts. They want payback and they want Momonosuke, so they're there, they're ready to settle it. Okiku just puts on the mask. No more words, we're just gonna get right into it.
Goddamn right.
The very interesting thing that I would like to note here, other than the fact that Inuarashi, who lost his foot during the whole skirmish with Jack and Zoe, he's now sporting a sword leg, which is a nice touch and a nice compliment to Nekomamushi's gun hand that we saw in the last chapter. So really like that touch. But one thing I really want to find interesting in this little altercation between Kanjuro, the Red Scabbards, and Law is that Marco has not returned where he went in the last chapter, because he stated that he saw a shadow and he went to go check it out to see what was going on here. Now, our theories, or my theory back then, is that it was probably just Perospero coming up, or maybe could be a new entity altogether here. So we see that in this altercation, Marco has not returned yet. So it begs the question, what's keeping him? Is it really Perospero that came back? Is it really an enemy? And that's probably why that's really distracting Marco from this, because to be perfectly honest, I really feel like that if Marco was in that fight, Kanjuro, in my honest opinion, wouldn't be that big of a threat. It's just my own headcanon here, because I really think Marco by himself could probably mop the floor with Kanjuro and maybe the rest of his army. Really wondering what's keeping Marco here. Is it something a really dangerous foe just showed up, or is it really Perospero here? I really want to make note that Marco is still missing here. Now, we cut back to where we see both Yamato and Luffy are still talking from the last chapter. Now, big thing to unpack here, a very big thing to unpack here, is that Yamato wants to join Luffy.
Why not?
They want to be part of the Straw Hats. So that's a very big thing there, because they're saying that they pretty much are trying to mimic how Odin went with Roger. So now Yamato is saying, okay, I want to go with you. Can I be aboard of your ship? Because I know you're Ace's little brother. What I am a little confused about is that she says that she cannot leave the country or else the country would explode. As if the country would just go into havoc, like she really was some sort of royalty. And this is a bit confusing, which is later revealed later on in the chapter. We'll get there, trust me. But I find it very perplexing is the fact that she says that she's been held captive for over 20 years with these handcuffs. And my first question is, how?
What?
And hear me out. It's just, what's with those handcuffs? The question is, are those sea prism handcuffs? Because if that's the case, there's a lot of things we need to unpack with just the thought of those being C Prism handcuffs. Because keep in mind, in the last chapter, Yamato one-shotted Ulti. She one-shotted a commander. Here, we need to keep that in mind. So if those are actually C Prism, one, that confirms that she is in fact a Devil Fruit user. Second off, what is her Devil Fruit? Let's start there. We need to know, what is her Devil Fruit? Is she a T-Rex? Is she another form of a dragon here? Because I guarantee you, if she is a Devil Fruit user, she is clearly a Zoan user. There's just no doubt about it, because all the big players that happen to be in Kaido's crew, barring Scratchman Apu and Basil Hawkins, they all happen to be Zoan users here. So I have no doubt that if she is a Devil Fruit user, and those are in fact C Prism cuffs, she is definitely a Zoan user. However, another thing we could look at this is that maybe those cuffs could be the similar ones that the Germa used on Sanji during that Whole Cake Island arc. Because if you remember, during that arc, they gave these two cuffs to Sanji that if he decides to leave the island for whatever reason, they will automatically blow up, such blowing up his hands. So that's another aspect to it as well. Maybe these aren't C Prisms. Maybe for the first time ever, she's not a Devil Fruit user and she just doesn't want to lose her hands. That's another aspect we could look at it. I personally prefer the aspect where she's actually a Devil Fruit user and we just don't know what her Devil Fruit power is at the moment. I mean, I have a bit of a theory that Yamato is probably already way stronger than her father, or at the very least is very close. It's just that maybe Kaido kind of noticed this and didn't want to deal with a rebellious child overpowering him, so just slapped those cuffs on her. So basically, she's stuck at the power that she's at now. And let's keep in mind, again, if those are in fact C Prism handcuffs, she one-shotted a commander. She still has an impressive level of strength when she should be weakened, if she is in fact a Devil Fruit user. So that begs the question, how strong is she really without those cuffs? I really am thinking that she probably could surpass her father if that is the case, or at least come close. Because again, one-on-one, you always bet on Kaido. Now we come to the real meat of this chapter. The real bazinga of this chapter, and that is we finally get to hear what the Onigashima initiative is. So boy, we got a lot to unpack here. So for starters, Kaido finally makes it public knowledge that the Big Mom Pirates and the Kaido Pirates are going to be forming an alliance. That's nothing new. We already know about this in several chapters, it's just that now he's making it more public. However, what is interesting is that Kaido shows that he is in fact aware of the world government abolishing the warlord system. Now, obviously, he is an emperor, so obviously he has a massive network of connections here. So him knowing that, that's no big deal. And then obviously we get Big Mom interrupting, and apparently we assume that she either beat down or she has captured both Carrot and Nami.
Please, no!
And it pretty much shows that Zeus has turned their back on them, which, to be honest, I was kind of expected. I'm kind of surprised Zeus kind of stayed loyal to Nami for this long. At least that's what the panel looked like. Not entirely sure if that's how it's going down yet. Now, a very interesting thing that we need to understand here is that after Kaido and Big Mom pretty much declare their alliance, they both pretty much declare that the One Piece is officially theirs.
Wrong.
Now, obviously, we get Luffy saying, no, it's mine, but put that to the side for a second and let's really think about what the next thing that Kaido says. He pretty much stated in page 10 that in a world of ancient weapons, it's surely to cause more chaos than whatever the world government's power is. Because clearly, if they abolish the warlord system, that means they have some new power or some new invention that Vegapunk has made to kind of compete with that. That's what we pretty much got hinted with all those chapters ago. Now, based on that statement, I just have one question. Does Kaido have access to an ancient weapon? Because right now, the only ancient weapon that we actually have seen is Poseidon, which is Shirahoshi, all the way back in the Fishman Island arc. So we know who Poseidon is. But does Kaido have access to the other ancient weapons? Clearly, the fact that he has knowledge about it is obvious, because even the world government has knowledge about it. Crocodile had knowledge about it. So him having knowledge about it is no biggie. It's not a big surprise. However, does he have access to it? And if he does, which is it? Is it Pluton? Is it Uranus? Like, does he have access to an ancient weapon? Because he seems very, very confident that teamed up with Big Mom, he's not only going to be able to achieve the One Piece, he's going to also be able to start a huge war that I would assume he's pretty much planning on winning here. So I kind of want to analyze that a bit more. Like, does he have an ancient weapon? And if so, how did he get it? Like, what is this? Like, what is it? Because obviously he has to have a rogue poneglyph somewhere. And he might have somebody that's able to read it. Maybe that's probably why his son, quote unquote, is such a big deal, because Yamato is going around like a big Odin fan. So could it be possible that Yamato can read the poneglyphs? Maybe kind of gave Kaido some kind of hint, and this would also play into the fact as to why Yamato is so keen on joining up with Luffy, because she wants to see probably the same thing that Odin saw. It's a very interesting thing, because we also hear that from Yamato's side, she got beaten down by her old man multiple times. So could that have been because Kaido wanted her to pretty much decipher what the poneglyph has said there? It's a potential theory. I'm not entirely sure yet. It's a potential thing still going around here. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, but again, there's still a lot of dynamic between both Yamato and Kaido that we have yet to unpack. I hope we get a bit more info on that, because it's getting a little bit more interesting and complex at the same time.
You're goddamn right.
Now, back to Kaido with the Onigashima initiative. We see one of the biggest turnarounds yet is that he immediately betrays Orochi. He just goes straight up and he's just like, okay, so all of you followers of Orochi, you got 5 seconds to decide if you want to be with me or die. And Orochi tries to come up and says like, wait, no, but this is my...
Denied.
Immediately just cuts his head off. Kaido wastes no time, just cuts his head off and blah, dead.
That's disturbing.
Now, I'm just gonna go right out and say this right now. Orochi is not dead.
What?
I don't believe it. I'm sorry. I just can't buy it. We've had too many character moments with this guy. We had a flashback explaining his character, his whole background. I don't believe he's dead yet. A popular theory that's kind of floating around here right now is that what died is a drawing by Kanjuro. That's the popular theory, and I'm gonna side with that theory. I didn't make that theory, so I will not take credit for it, but that's the popular theory I've been hearing floating around, and I'm gonna side with that theory that what we saw die was a stand-in, probably just a drawing by Kanjuro, because what the biggest moment that really plays to me that why I don't think that Orochi is dead yet is, if you remember earlier in the Wano arc, we had Orochi meeting up with an agent of CP0. Now, what did Orochi ask for? He was just asking to meet with Vegapunk personally. He demanded to meet with Vegapunk to go off to come up with some sort of agreement. Now, a man with that much power, status, and conviction, I don't think Orochi just going down like that. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure in the back of his mind, he probably anticipated Kaido betraying him at some point. There's just too many things surrounded around Orochi. Plus, another thing we need to speculate here is the fact that Orochi has a devil fruit, which pretty much turns him into an 8-headed Hydra. So another popular idea here, this one I don't stake too much prize in, but maybe it might be a possibility that what really died was Orochi, but it was just one of his heads. And as long as the main head of Orochi is still alive and kicking, that doesn't matter. So we have two potential ways that Orochi survived this. Option A, that was just a drawing of Kanjuro. That to me is the more believable one. That's probably the more, reasonable idea, the reasonable theory that probably happened. The other idea is that there was just one of the heads of Orochi. Still need to cut off the 7 more of them. So that's another potential idea. But the bottom line is, I really don't believe Orochi is dead yet. He's gonna make some sort of comeback at some point. He was just too much of a big villain, just as much as Kaido at one point, to really just go down just like that. I really don't see that happening. Now, a thing I like about this chapter is towards the end, specifically on page 14, we see that Kaido is not necessarily just a brute. Because in the first instances that we have met up with Kaido and we've seen him, he just seems like either a drunken idiot or just a brute, a massive guy. He just likes to flex and throw his power around with a devil-may-care attitude. But in this we see that he's more the leader aspect, as he's showing off saying, okay, so we're going to make this into a lawless country. We're going to be planning several expeditions and also planning for the Great War here. So we could see that Kaido has some forethought, because he pretty much knows that the One Piece is out there, and he's going to take a lot of time to find the evidence, to get to Raftel. Maybe if he even knows about Raftel. This is why I'm saying that if he ever gets a hold of Oden's book, that's going to change the game, because clearly he knows to look for something. He knows to look for something. And there's that potential idea that he might have access to an ancient weapon. All he needs to know now is just a bit more information that might point him in the right path. So clearly, Kaido, as far as the rest of the people and the rest of the emperors, he is ahead of most of them. Well, Kaido and Big Mom, but since we see Kaido mostly speaking here, he's already ahead of the game. I don't even know if Blackbeard has this level of ingenuity or access like Kaido does at this moment. Like right now, Kaido is looking like even way more of a threat than Blackbeard. So at the end of the chapter, we pretty much get Kaido initiating that Wano is going to be called New Onigashima, and therefore making Yamato, his son, the new shogun. So I kind of want to stop and think about this for a second, because I find it very interesting that he is willing to give his son, that clearly doesn't like him very much, the role of shogun. So immediately, the first thing that this reminds me of, because I spoke to a couple of my friends, and they were just like, this kind of reminds of the whole Ozai and Azula dynamic, where Ozai is trying to become the Phoenix King and Azula becomes the Fire Lord of the Fire Nation. You can see the same similarities here, where Kaido is trying to become King of the Pirates next to Big Mom, and just having his son take over Wano, or what he's going to call the new Onigashima here. So like those parallels there, that was a very nice touch. Just very confused as to why he's so sure that his son is going to be willing to take over that role, because as we see at the end of the chapter, she's not very happy that her father declared that, which would also explain as to why she was saying that if she were to leave the country would probably just explode and go nuts over her disappearance. So I see it there. Overall, this chapter, very hype. It's another setup chapter, but it really got appetite whet for what to expect here. And the best part about this, no break.
Wow.
There will be no break, so we don't have to wait 2 weeks to understand what's going to be happening next here. Overall, this was a very great chapter. I'm not sure what to expect here. I am really curious as to whether or not Orochi is dead, whether he really is down for the count. Again, I don't buy it. I really think that Orochi found some sort of slick way to get out of that. We've seen too much planning and too much of his character for him to just go down just like that. And if this is the last that we see of Orochi, I personally will be thoroughly disappointed. I really think there's a lot that could be done with this character even at this point right now. So that's going to be it for me, folks. As always, I am the Gentleman Snark here. And again, if you like what you see here, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. And if you want to catch us live, we have a Twitch. You can follow us on twitch.tv/Nerdent. There we play games and we pretty much just talk, just have to have fun. So if you ever catch us live, you can always join, talk, say hey, what's up, even play some games with us if that's possible. Also, if you want to see when we go live or when our other videos, you can also go on Twitter. You can follow us on Twitter at @meetswet. That's at MEETSWEST. You can go there, follow us, and you'll pretty much know when we go live on Twitch. So that's going to be it for me, folks. Hope you enjoyed the video, and this is the Gentleman Snark, as always, and I'll catch you guys later. See ya.